Imagine this, you stop texting him, stop calling, stop chasing, and suddenly his entire behavior flips. Sounds crazy, right? But here's the truth. Your silence can be louder than any words you've ever spoken. Because when you stop contacting a man, one of four things will happen, and how he reacts will tell you more about him than months of conversation ever could. Now, I want you to pay attention here, because this is the part most people get wrong. Some believe that if they stop reaching out, he'll just forget them. Others think silence is manipulation. Neither is true. What really happens is your absence creates a mirror. He's forced to confront what you mean to him. And that's where the real test begins. If this is already hitting home for you, don't just watch in silence. Hit that like button, because this is the kind of insight no one tells you until it's too late. Have you ever stopped to think about what goes on in a man's head when you suddenly stop reaching out to him? Many women assume that if they hold back from texting or calling, he'll just move on and forget about them. But the reality is very different. Silence is actually one of the strongest psychological triggers in relationships. And today we're going to explore why men are naturally built to chase, to win, and to protect what they see as valuable. When you're the one constantly calling, texting, or trying to keep the connection alive, he relaxes because he knows you're there. But the moment you stop giving him that steady attention, his brain picks up on something unusual. And here's the interesting part. That sense of uncertainty creates attraction. This is not about playing tricks. It's about knowing how male psychology truly works. When you stop giving him predictable attention, his thoughts automatically shift. Suddenly, he begins asking himself questions that never crossed his mind before. Did I mess something up? Is she pulling away? Has someone else caught her attention? That spiral of thoughts often makes him stop and reflect on his real feelings, and that's when the change begins. In this video, I'll share the four most common reactions men have when you stop contacting them, and the fourth one will completely change how you look at relationships. So stay with me until the end, because missing that could mean losing your best chance to flip the situation in your favor. Get ready, because after today, you'll never think of silence in the same way again. Have you noticed how unpredictable men can act the moment you go quiet? At first he might look calm and comfortable, like he doesn't care at all. But then suddenly he's blowing up your phone, watching your stories, or coming up with excuses to reach out to you. The reason behind these opposite reactions lies in the way men are wired to respond to scarcity and attention. Here's the thing most people miss. Not every man reacts to silence in the same way. Some get anxious, some act defensive, while others become overly focused on you. But why does this happen? It has everything to do with how he sees his worth, how he values you, and the balance of control in the relationship. When you're always available, always texting first, always checking in, he falls into a safe and predictable rhythm. In his mind, there's no need to work harder. No surprise and no challenge. But the second you break that pattern and stop contacting him, his brain switches into problem-solving mode. Out of nowhere, he's hit with a question he didn't expect. Why isn't she reaching out to me anymore? This moment sparks something psychologists call the uncertainty principle. People are naturally drawn to what they don't fully understand or control, and for men, the drive to face challenges is especially strong. So when your attention disappears, it leaves an empty space. That empty space makes him think about you more than ever, even if he tries not to. Some men will act right away. They'll text, call, and try harder, because they don't want to risk losing you. Others, though, will react with their own silence. Not because they stop caring, but because their pride is triggered. They want to feel in charge, so they hold back, hoping you'll be the one to give in first. And then there's a third kind of man, the confused one. He may act like nothing is wrong, but quietly he's checking your posts, watching your moves, and wondering if someone else has stepped into the picture. That hidden panic builds little by little until it becomes impossible for him to ignore. This explains why men respond so differently when you stop contacting them. It's not just about you, It's about how he measures himself against you. Your silence pushes him to face his own emotions, his doubts, and what he really wants. It shifts the control back to him, and for many men, that's deeply uncomfortable. But here's the fascinating part. The way he reacts gives you all the clues you need about your place in his life. In the next part of this video, we'll go into the first major reaction most men show when you pull away, and it's probably not what you're expecting. When you suddenly stop reaching out, the first thing that usually happens inside his mind is confusion. Men are creatures of habit. If he's used to your calls, your messages, your steady attention, and all of it comes to a halt, his brain struggles to adjust. He may not let it show on the outside, but deep inside he's asking himself, wait, what just changed? At first, he might brush it off and assume it's temporary. Maybe she's busy, maybe she just needs time, maybe she'll message me soon. But when hours turn into days and the silence doesn't break, that early confidence starts to crumble. This is when the psychological shift kicks in. Your silence breaks his sense of control. Even if he never admitted it, he relied on the security of your attention. He might not have been thinking about you constantly before, but knowing that you were always there gave him comfort. Now that comfort has been taken away. This is where his ego and emotions collide. A part of him wants to look calm, act unbothered, and convince himself it's no big deal. But another part of him, the more honest and vulnerable part, can't stop wondering why things don't feel the same. That inner doubt grows louder. Did I push her away? Did she stop caring? Is she giving her time to someone else? This mental storm doesn't hit all at once, it grows gradually, making him restless in ways he's not used to. The more he tries to push it aside, the stronger it feels. Soon, he's checking his phone too often, scrolling through your old conversations, or even rereading your posts just to feel connected. This is the impact of scarcity in psychology. When something once guaranteed suddenly becomes uncertain, the human mind can't help but dwell on it. And for many men, this is the moment they realize they might have taken your attention for granted. But there's a twist. Not every man responds to this stage the same way. Some will reach out quickly because they want that security back. Others will wait, caught between pride and curiosity. And then there are those who act as if they don't care, but in reality, they're stuck replaying everything in their minds, trying to figure out what caused the change. This stage of confusion is only the start. It's the spark that sets off a chain of emotions. Overthinking, jealousy, and sometimes even surprising vulnerability. And in the next part of this video, we'll dive into the second reaction men usually face when you stop contacting them. And believe me, that's when things get even more intense. Once the confusion fades, something deeper starts stirring inside him. Overthinking takes control, and along with it comes a wave of self-doubt he never expected to feel. At first, he convinces himself, it's fine, she's probably busy, nothing serious. But as more time goes by without a text, a call, or any sign from you, that calm feeling starts to crack. The quiet moments quickly become dangerous. Because when a man has too much time to think, his mind begins to create full stories that don't always match reality. He starts doubting himself. Did I say the wrong thing? Was I too cold? Has she met someone else? Is she slipping away, or is she done with me completely? This is the stage where insecurity sneaks in, even for men who look confident on the surface. Remember, most men aren't skilled at openly dealing with emotions. Instead of admitting their feelings, they try to explain them away. So, rather than facing what they're feeling, they analyze. They replay your last conversation, overthink the tone of your last text, focus on the emojis you used, even the timing of your reply. Suddenly he's replaying situations that never even happened, imagining arguments that weren't real, and convincing himself he missed clues along the way. And here's the important part. When he doesn't have enough information, his mind fills in the blanks. And usually, it fills them with the worst possible ideas. This overthinking often turns into restlessness. He might start scanning your social media, searching for hidden meanings in your posts, or noticing details he never cared about before. Who liked your pictures? Who's leaving comments? Who are you following now? Even the smallest changes in your online behavior can fuel his doubts. But insecurity isn't the only thing at work here. Ego also plays a role. Your silence challenges the control he thought he had. When you were always around, he felt safe knowing your attention was his. Now that certainty has disappeared, and his mind struggles with the unknown. The fear of losing what he believed was guaranteed pulls him into a tug-of-war between his pride and his softer side. Some men can't take it and give in. They'll send that first text, maybe a simple, "Hey, how are you?" just to feel reassured. Others will fight the urge, telling themselves to hold out, so you'll contact them first. But deep down, they're stuck in constant thought about you, questioning, doubting, replaying. This cycle of overthinking and insecurity is powerful because it forces him to face emotions he never expected to feel. And it's exactly from here that his next reaction starts to grow. One that's more emotional, more revealing, and harder for him to hide. Once the confusion and overthinking take over, the shift begins. He moves from doubting to acting. This is the moment he starts showing you sudden attention and searching for excuses to reconnect. At first he might pretend not to care, but the silence is already wearing on him. The lack of your good morning messages, your casual check-ins, and the chats that once made him feel important suddenly feels like a huge loss. That missing attention flips a switch in his mind. Now, instead of feeling secure, he feels driven to chase. So what happens next? He tests the waters. It might start with something light, a quick, "Hey, have you been?" or "Haven't heard from you lately." Sometimes he won't even ask a direct question. He might send a meme, a song, or a random inside joke, anything to get you to respond. It's his way of saying, "I'm still here. Are you still there too?" And if you don't reply, the attempts usually increase. Suddenly, he's liking your old pictures, checking your stories the moment you post them, or even accidentally calling you. None of this is by chance. These are subtle signals that is missing your attention. But he doesn't want to admit it openly. Here's what's interesting. The same man who once seemed distant, distracted, or not invested now begins chasing your focus again. He may compliment you more, remind you of old memories, or show effort he hasn't shown in a long time. Why? Because when your attention disappears, it creates scarcity, and scarcity increases value. It's simple human psychology. We want what we feel we might lose. For many men, your silence is like an alarm bell. It forces them to realize how much they actually enjoyed you being in their world, even if they didn't show it before. But here's something crucial. This sudden attention doesn't always come purely from emotion. Sometimes it's also about his ego. He's not only afraid of losing you, he's also afraid of losing the safety of knowing you're there. That's why how you respond, or if you respond at all, completely shapes what happens next. This stage is powerful because for the first time, the dynamic shifts. He's the one putting in effort, not you. But this isn't the final reaction. The strongest one is yet to come. After confusion, overthinking, and sudden attempts to get close, comes the biggest shift of all, the emotional realization that he could actually lose you. This is where everything changes for him. At first, he probably assumed you'd always be around. He thought your care, your love, your energy, your presence, it was all permanent. But your silence breaks that illusion. Now, for the first time, he feels truly vulnerable. And this isn't just about missing your texts or your voice anymore. It goes deeper. He begins imagining someone else talking to you, making you laugh, or giving you the attention he once had. That thought alone is enough to make him panic. This is the emotional turning point. Instead of seeing you as someone he could casually keep around, he starts to see you as someone he could genuinely lose. That fear is powerful. It pushes him to revalue you, not just as someone he liked having, but as someone he may deeply care about. You might notice his approach changing. Suddenly it's not just short texts or casual memes. His messages become longer, more serious, sometimes even emotional. He might ask how you're really doing, what's happening in your life, and where the two of you stand. Some men will go beyond texts at this stage. They'll start calling instead of messaging, suggesting in-person meetings, or even making bigger moves just to reconnect. In his mind, losing you isn't an option anymore. Reaction 4. Emotional shift and fear of loss. Now the stakes feel heavier and he realizes he can't afford to stay passive anymore. But here's the twist. Not every man reacts by chasing harder. For some, this stage brings silence, not because he doesn't care, but because he's scared of rejection. The thought that you might have moved on, that maybe you don't want him back, makes him hesitate. His fear of losing you is battling with his fear of being hurt. This inner struggle can reveal a lot. When a man reaches this point, his actions or his lack of them show you where you truly stand in his heart. For once, his behavior isn't ruled by ego, pride, or habit. It's coming from raw feelings and the chance of regret. And this is why silence matters so much. It forces him to face emotions he has been avoiding and decide what you really mean to him. Whether he steps up or disappears, this stage gives you the answer you need. By this time, you've triggered a storm of emotions in him. Confusion, overthinking, sudden attention, and even the fear of losing you. The real question is, how do you deal with his response without losing your power? Here's the truth. Not all men will act the same way when you stop contacting them. Some will chase, texting, calling, doing whatever they can to pull you back. Others might act calm, pretending not to care, while secretly analyzing every little thing you do. Then there are the ones who test you by staying silent, waiting for you to break first. Your role is to stay calm, strong, and smart. The first rule is not to rush into replying. When he finally reaches out, whether after days, a week, or even longer, don't fall for the urge to answer right away. Fast replies tell him you were waiting, and that takes away your strength. Instead, pause and check his intentions. Ask yourself, is he reaching out because he truly values me, or just because he misses my attention? Do his actions match his words, or is he testing me? Is this real effort or just temporary? When you see his motives clearly, you can respond with clarity, not desperation. If his message is casual, like, "Hey, how have you been?" don't put too much emotion into it. Keep your reply short, light, and confident. A simple, "I've been good, thanks. Hope you're doing well too," works perfectly. You show you're polite but not giving away control. If his message is emotional, maybe he apologizes, shows regret, or genuinely wants to reconnect, then you can set healthy boundaries. This doesn't mean punishing him or playing tricks. It means calmly stating what you want moving forward. For example, "I appreciate you reaching out. I needed some space to think about what I want. If we're moving forward, I need us to communicate better and respect each other's needs." By saying this, you're sending a strong signal. You respect yourself and won't settle for crumbs of effort. If he doesn't reply at all, don't panic. His silence isn't failure. It actually tells you everything. If your absence doesn't push him to act, then he isn't willing to invest. And that's your sign to move on with dignity. Handling his response like a pro takes emotional control. It's about resisting the urge to explain too much, chase, or beg for his attention. You're shifting the balance back to where it should be. He has to earn your time and energy, not the other way around. Remember, silence was your powerful move, but what you do after he responds decides whether you keep that power or lose it. If you stay calm, steady, and confident, you not only guard your self-worth, but also become even more attractive in his eyes. And here's the best part, no matter how he reacts, whether he returns stronger or disappears, you win. Why? Because you now have clarity. You've taken back control. You've proven to yourself that you're someone who values yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. That's handling his response like a pro, not through tricks, but with patience, confidence, and self-respect. Now that we've seen how men react when you stop contacting them, we should talk about something just as important, the mistakes women often make during the no-contact phase. These mistakes can undo your progress, send the wrong signals, and even push him further without you noticing. One of the biggest mistakes is breaking no contact too soon. Many women start strong, telling themselves they'll stay silent and let him come to them. But after a few days, doubt starts to creep in. You begin to wonder if he's already forgotten. And suddenly you send that, "Hey, how are you?" text. The problem is, once you reach out first, you reset the dynamic. The impact of your silence is gone. He no longer feels it, and you lose the advantage. Another mistake is using social media as a weapon. This is common. Posting cryptic quotes, indirect messages, or overly polished selfies just to make him jealous. While it feels harmless, it often backfires. Instead of looking confident, it shows him you're still reacting emotionally to his presence. Real strength comes from staying quiet, not from broadcasting your every move to get a reaction. A third mistake is stalking his online activity, checking his Instagram, watching who liked his posts, refreshing his stories, and tracking every detail of his life. It's draining and ties your energy to him. The more you obsess over what he's doing, the more power you give away. No contact isn't just about not texting him. It's about mentally letting go and focusing on yourself. Another trap is playing games instead of being real. Some women try to make him jealous by openly flirting with others or pretending they've already moved on. While this might catch his eye for a moment, it rarely builds real attraction. It creates drama, confusion, and if he notices you're being fake, he might back away or stop respecting you. The next mistake is not preparing for his reply. Many women assume that if he reaches out, it means he wants to fix things. But sometimes he's only testing if you're still available, not ready to commit. If you reply with too much excitement, you fall into the same cycle that caused the gap before. Instead, when he contacts you, stay neutral and calm. Finally, one of the most damaging mistakes is forgetting yourself during no contact.